studio and online. So this is Pranayama Meditation, new class, kind of a new beginning. So this is going to be the format today of a little more of a workshop and an instructional kind of practice, which is a preparation for Pranayama meditation. And so the first thing we're going to do is a little bit of supine practice, supine laying on the back practice, just to prepare the hips and the body for seated postures. Then we're going to look at the different ways of sitting for Pranayama meditation, so you can hopefully find something that really works for you. And then we're going to look at some of the basic techniques like Kapalabhati, which is a preparation for pranayama, and then a little bit of refinement on Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. And then the second part of the class will be looking at how to actually use a mala for japa meditation, a little bit about how to set up for meditation. And so next week, we can actually really go into the practice itself more deeply. And what I want to do after a few weeks is be in a position where we can just come into the class, chant, go through the pranayama that we're needing to do, and start to develop that. And then from the pranayama, move straight into the japa meditation. So it becomes like a seamless kind of movement through the class. But we need to lay some foundation in the beginning, and that's what we'll be doing today. Okay? Still okay online? You can hear me all right? Okay, good. So the first thing I would say about what I'm going to teach you is it's not the normal, most common way that you would be taught, especially the pranayama. There's also some things that are very specific to the way I'm going to teach you meditation, and particularly the preparation for meditation. The thing that's different about the pranayama is that usually pranayama is taught in quite a kind of structured way with breath counts and different ratios of breath which are counted on 1, on 2, on 3, and 4. And it's usually counted with digital counting on the left hand. When you get used to the practice, that's the way it's traditionally done. That's the way I was originally taught pranayama, and that's the way I practiced pranayama for 20 years. And it's a very good system. It has a very important purpose. But eventually I got to the point, especially after I did that for a long time with Shivananda, in the Shivananda tradition, where you're always doing pranayama. It's counted systems. And then I went into it in much more depth with a teacher who some of you know called Greg Olmala, who wrote a very good book on pranayama. He's visited here and taught the studio. And I did the kind of like pranayama system, which is described by him and taught by him. Works really well. It's a very powerful system. But in the end, I became slightly disillusioned with that system, in that it didn't seem very sustainable for me. And I didn't find it particularly that it really worked with the type of meditation I was doing. And then I met A.G. Mohan. So A.G. Mohan is a teacher from India who studied with Desikachar for a very long time, and Desikachar and with Tirumali Krishnamacharya, the root guru of our lineage here. And when I studied with him, his approach to pranayama was very different. And the one thing he asked us not to do was not to count. His reasoning behind this was that pranayama is a very personal and particular thing. And once you start to impose a count system on an individual, it produces stress in the mind, stress in the body, and it isn't conducive to kind of worshipping the prana. And the definition of pranayama that I like is worship of prana, not control of prana, not lengthening prana, not extending prana, but worshipping prana. So that just was the first little where the light bulb went on for me, and I started to practice in that way. And then I came across the teachings of T.K. Srivastava. T.K. Srivastava is Krishnamacharya's son. And he taught a system of pranayama to Srivastava, which is distinct. And I've never heard of it or seen it taught by anyone else anywhere. And that system of pranayama he gave to his son, Srivastava, because he said he found that his son was of a more devotional nature. And because of that, he needed to use this system of pranayama. And that system of pranayama is no counting. What there is, as some of you will know, is internal gaze points where you touch different parts of the body, which are called marmasthana, secret places where the prana resides, with your gaze, internal gaze. That's what we'll be working on in pranayama. And the reason why I think this is really important to share and to learn is because there's no real aspiration in it to gain a certain ratio, to improve a certain ratio, to increase length of kumbhaka, which is retention, to increase length of breath. The intention in the practice is devotional. It's a bhakti practice, a devotional practice, where you develop intimacy with your breath, and through that intimacy, you develop refinement of pranayama and worship of the prana. And the prana is what you are. Does this make sense? Are you with me so far? Okay, so this is why I'm going to be teaching you the things I'm teaching you, and not what would traditionally be expected in a pranayama class. Now, in the pranayama that I talked about, which is a counted pranayama, is more of a hatha yoga practice. It's the way it's described in nearly all the texts. What I'm going to be teaching you is a bhakti yoga practice of pranayama. And of course, bhakti yoga is also meditation, because meditation is pure devotion. That's kind of what interests me, and I hope that it'll interest you. And the other thing about it is, it's rare. I don't know anybody who teaches this, anybody else who teaches this the way I'm going to teach it to you. And I don't want it to die. I know that it works. I know that it's powerful. I know that it's important. And if I teach it to you and you teach it to someone else, it helps. Keeps it alive. Yeah? And I'd also just like to say on that point that the idea of aspiration and trying to improve and trying to kind of attain something in yoga is something we could really do with leaving aside. The way you breathe, the way you are right now is enough. All we're going to do is to, with everything you've got at the moment, just the way you are, we're going to cultivate the life of the soul through these practices. Do you know what I'm saying? In our world, there's so much around us which is all about aspiration, about trying to improve, about having to be better, about having to be this way or having to be that way. We drop all that. And we just know that we have within us everything we need. And what we're going to do is we're going to cultivate that thing that's already there, that we've always had, and that never went anywhere. That's what we're working on. Okay? Okay. So let's just start with some simple supine vinyasas to help prepare the body for sitting. Let's get practical for a moment. Make sure you've got enough space between your mats end to end, because you're going to be bringing the arms over your head. And then just come down onto your back and relax. Okay, just start with the feet a little bit wider than the hips and the arms away from the body. Turn your palms up, bring your chin slightly down, close your eyes. Relax all your facial muscles. Come into your breath. No J sound to the breath, just quiet breathing. Turn your gaze down to the center of your chest, just in front of your spine. And just be conscious that the breath begins there and the breath returns to that place. It's called the pranasthana. It's the seat of prana in the body. It's where the breath begins and it's where the breath returns and it's where the prana resides in the body. Just lift your head a little bit. There. Bring your feet together and your arms close to the body with the palms down. I want you to just move your gaze now, flick your gaze through your body to the 16 marmasthanas, the secret places where the prana resides in the body. Feet together, arms close to the body, palms face down, shoulders relaxed. Look big toes, center of ankles, center of knees, tops of thighs, perineum, center of pelvis, navel, heart, back throat, throat pit, soft palate, upper palate, third eye, nose tip, space between eyebrows, center of forehead, crown of head, big toes, ankles, knees, just flick the gaze, tops of thighs, perineum, center of pelvis, navel, center of chest, back throat, throat pit, soft palate, upper palate, third eye, nose tip, space between eyebrows, center of forehead, crown of head. Drop the gaze to the navel, Tataka Mudra. Inhale, both arms over the head, flip the palms. Interlock the fingers, push the palms away. Normal inhale, turn the gaze down, look Nadi, navel, flex the feet, draw the lower back to the floor. Fully exhale, completely empty your lungs. Hold the breath out, look navel, flex the feet, draw the lower back down, stretch. Create a pond in the belly, a pond in the eyes, drop the upper palate, a pond in the mouth. 3-pond mudra. Inhale, bring the hands up over your face. Change the interlock of your fingers, push the palms away. Exhale, bring the arms over the head. Keep exhaling until your lungs are empty. Look Nadi, navel. Stretch. Gently lift the perineum, lower abdomen in and up, pond in the eyes, pond in the mouth, Tataka Mudra. Inhale, bring the hands up over the face. Exhale, change the interlock of the fingers, push the palms away, lower the arms over the head. We're going to take a short breath now in, and a very long exhale. The hands are on the floor over your head. At the end of the breath, hold the breath out, look Nadi, perineum, lower abdomen, relax the face, stretch. Draw the lower back down to deepen the hollow. See if the diaphragm floats up, puts a little bit of pressure on your heart. Inhale, bring the hands up, interlock the fingers over your face. Exhale, hands beside the hips. Switch the gaze, look at the heart space, pranasthana. Watch the breath there. Inhale, bring both hands over the head, keep the feet together. Exhale, bend the right knee, bring the arms over, hug the knees to the chest. Hug the knee down with both hands. Inhale, arms back over the head, scoot the foot along the floor, legs together. Vinyasa movements. Exhale, bend the right knee again. Bring the hands over, hug the knee down. Same knee. Inhale, arms over the head, extend the foot back to the floor. Stretch. Change legs. Exhale, bend the left knee. Squeeze the knee down. Completely empty your lungs. Inhale, straighten the leg, arms over the head. Do the second one on your own. Completely exhale, hold the breath out. There's a pause in the breath. And then when you're ready, extend the leg, arms over the head, stretch. Exhale, bend both knees, hug both knees to the chest. Fully empty the lungs. Look Nadi, navel, eyes closed. Inhale, arms over the head, both feet back to the floor. Exhale, bend both knees, hug both knees down. This time, hold the knees. Bring the hands round and interlock the fingers, hold the wrists or hold the elbows. Inhale, move the knees away an inch. And exhale, squeeze the knees down. Eyes closed, look Nadi, navel. Inhale, move the knees away, keep hold of the knees. And exhale, squeeze the knees down. Hold the knees down, short inhale. Fully exhale. Hold the breath out, lift the head towards the knees. Inhale, lower the head. Exhale. Inhale, extend the arms over the head and the legs to the floor. Exhale, bring the hands beside the body. Look heart. Switch off Ujaayi. Watch the breath in the heart. Inhale, bring the right arm over the head. Exhale, raise the right arm and the right leg. Stretch the fingers and the toes to the ceiling, pull your lower back down. Inhale, lower. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Exhale, raise. Inhale, lower. Same arm, change legs. Inhale, raise. Point the toe, point the fingers, stretch up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, raise. As you lift up strongly through the toes and the fingers, pull your lower back down, draw your navel in, Uddiyana Bandha. Inhale, lower. Good. Inhale, raise the right leg again. Raise the right arm. Take the big toe with the first two fingers if you can reach it, or bend the knee and hold the knee. And then exhale, bring the leg to the right. Keep gazing straight up at the ceiling. Bring your left hand onto the top of the left thigh. Inhale to center. Ujjayi breathing, please. Left hand's on top of the left thigh. Sorry, not the right thigh. And then exhale, lower to the right. If you can't hold the foot comfortably, hold the knee bent, that's fine. Inhale to center. Keep the gaze straight up. Exhale to the right. At the end of the exhale, lift the head off the floor, look over your left shoulder. Breathe. Smooth Ujjayi breathing, no strain, relaxed. Just let the hip open to its natural level. Inhale, bring the leg to center. Exhale, don't move. Inhale, lower the right arm over the head and the right leg to the floor. Exhale, bring the right arm beside the hip. Inhale, raise the left arm over the head. Exhale, raise the left arm and the left leg. Same thing, take the knee or take the big toe. Exhale, lower the leg to the side. If you're holding the knee, bend the knee. Right hand on top of right thigh. Inhale, center. And exhale to the left. One more time. Inhale, center. Exhale to the left. Into the breath, lift the head a millimeter off the floor, turn, look over your right shoulder. And then work at keeping the right hip down. And with each long exhale, release the tension in your left hip. The right arm is extending down the thigh, and there's action in the right leg, which helps to release the tension across the pelvis. The breath needs to be long. The head's on the floor now, Aoife. You just lift the head off the floor so that you can turn it without moving the alignment of the spine. Then you put the head back down. And then when you're ready, inhale, come back to the center. Release the foot. Exhale, bring the arm over your head. Inhale, don't move. And then bring the head over, arm over the head to the floor and the leg down. And then exhale, bring the left hand towards the hip. Inhale, bring both knees and hug them to the chest. And then extend the shins vertically from the floor and separate the knees. Bring the hands around the soles of the feet and draw the knees down towards your armpits. So the shins are vertical and you're holding the outsides of the feet, and the shins are in a vertical position, the hands around the outside of the foot. Happy baby. Knees are wider than the torso, so eventually the knees would go outside the torso to the floor just inside the armpits. And now long exhales here with the eyes closed. The gaze is turned down to Mula, perineum. Shins are vertical. Vertical. Now separate your knees. Knees wider. Knees wider. Outside your arms. Yeah. Now pull the feet down gently. And then release, bring the feet together. Inhale, extend the arms over your head and the feet to the floor. Exhale, bring both hands beside your hips. Separate your feet, bring your arms away from your sides and turn the palms up. Switch off Ujaayi, awareness in the heart. And the feet together, arms by the sides. Inhale, bend the knees to the chest. And exhale, rock up into a sitting position. Seated or kneeling, doesn't matter. Okay. So obviously there's so many ways that you can prepare for sitting. Little supine sequences, we'll do different ones each week. Obviously lots of squatting poses and all those sort of things really help. But what I want to do is just give you a few tips on ways that may be helpful for you to sit for pranayama meditation. When you do token kind of pranayama meditation in a yoga class, you're never sitting for very long. But when you really get into doing a designated pranayama meditation practice, you need to be able to sit for longer periods of time, and that's where it gets challenging. So this is one of the reasons you're doing asana, one of the key reasons you're doing asana, is to give yourself the freedom in your body to be able to sit comfortably for meditation. And some of the texts, they actually say that's the purpose of asana, but it is actually much more complicated than that. But how we sit is really important, and there's a few little things I'm going to show you which you might find helpful. So now we've done the asana part. I want you to all fold your mats in half and all move as close as you can to the front. So we still have a view with the camera, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I want anybody on the back row. I want everybody on the first sort of 2.5 rows, please. Okay. Okay, so if you're online, can you see me clearly? Can you see me? So yeah, I can just see. Jane, could you move back or over there, please? Ashley, Caroline, could you swap? You're just for meditation or pranayama. And this now, we're not in a class situation, it's more of a workshop situation. So you can ask questions. The first thing about sitting, and you've got to be able to see me. If you can't see me, move or stand up. First thing about sitting is not the position of the legs, the position of the spine is the thing that's important. In pranayama meditation, you have to be able to keep a natural spinal position and lumbar curve. The moment the body starts to slump, you start to get a backache, but more importantly, you block the flow of energy in the spine, in the Sushumna Nadi, the path of grace where the prana moves, and which you're trying to activate in the process of pranayama and meditation. So the moment the posture goes, it isn't just about being uncomfortable, it's about undermining the basic principle of what you're trying to do in pranayama meditation. So the most important thing is the position of the spine. Now, for people who really struggle to sit on the floor, it's better to sit on a chair. But I'm guessing, as most of us are yogis, that we can manage sitting on the floor. So I'm just going to demonstrate this stuff to you. We're not all going to do it together. This is very familiar to a lot of you already, I know, but I just want to go through it again for everyone, and it's something you can think about and work with at home. So I'm quite comfortable. I can sit cross-legged in full lotus if I want on the floor, but I recommend everybody uses some kind of support. The support can be as high as you need it for cross-legged. Don't be frightened of going higher if it makes you more comfortable. The basic principle is that when you're sitting, the knees need to be lower than the hips. The moment the knees are up, which is why this position, Sukhasana, is really challenging for meditation. The moment the knees are higher than the hips, you're using back muscles to keep your spine straight. And you won't be able to do that for long without pain. Clear? These need to be lower than these. So if you're stiff in your hips, you're going to need more height. What you need to have is the knees going down. Clear? Yeah? Okay. So as much height as you need. And then the second thing is the nutation of the pelvis. So the pelvis needs to be in forward. I know this is not so easy for you to see, but it needs to be in forward nutation. If the pelvis is tucked under and you're sitting almost like you feel like you're sitting behind your sit bones, there is no way you're going to get a natural lumbar curve, and you're going to get a lot more pressure in your back. Now, if you're tight in your hips, that is probably where you will naturally want to sit. You'll want to rotate back and sit on the back of the sit bones because it'll feel more comfortable for your hips. Do not do that because you're going to get more pain in your back. So the thing you need to do is to raise your seat more so that you can bring the knees down and pull the buttock flesh directly back behind the sit bones to reveal the front edge of your sit bones to your support, whatever that may be. And when you can feel the front edge of the sit bones, you know that you have this slight forward nutation of the pelvis, which will allow you to keep a natural lumbar curve. We'll come to the legs in a minute. Is that clear? It's fundamental. The moment this happens, stop the prana and you'll get a backache. This has to happen. So notice that when I create the natural lumbar curve and sit on the front edge of the sit bones, it allows me easily to release the shoulders. If you're in a rounded back position, the shoulders tend to go up and get tense, which also causes a blockage then for the breath. So that as you rotate the pelvis forward, there's two things that happen. The chest rolls up. I don't know how well you can see this. The chest then needs to roll up. Sorry, everybody on Zoom, you're back, I think. Yeah, why it's doing this, dropping out, but we'll stick with it. Yeah, the question was, so where do you feel? You feel pain in your upper back, yeah? Okay. So if you need to use support, then you should use support. But you should be doing things in your asana practice to strengthen your back. So you'd be doing like supine shalabhasana variations where you're laying on the floor, raising individual arms and legs, both legs and arms, strengthening your back, trying to get the stability and your core to get the stability so you can sit. So you would then have an asana practice which is more designed to help you sit, because it's essential to be able to sit in free space eventually. I'm guessing you can hear me now. We're just going to stick with it and hope that it improves. Can you hear me, Claire? Okay. Yeah, so that's the first thing. Chest up, shoulders down. So you always have this lengthening in the back of the neck. Then the legs. This is the most common thing I see. People sit and then they bring their legs in like this and they sit like this. Or they sit like this. So the thing is, I haven't got a full forward rotation in my hip joints and my shin bones aren't pointing towards the floor. They're pointing forwards. That means that my hips are still they're slightly rotated back. When you sit, you bend one knee in, and before you bring the knee down, you internally rotate the calf flesh. You bend the knee, take the calf flesh, internally rotate. That rotation of the calf flesh inwards releases pressure in the knee capsule. Very important if you're going to go into full lotus or half lotus as well. And then with the knee closed, you take the foot from underneath as if you were going to do a half lotus, and then you rotate the shin bone completely down. What you're looking for is to get the sole of the foot pointing up. When the shin bone goes down like that, now pointing towards the floor, my hip joint is fully rotated forward. Can you see that? When the hip joint is rotated forward, then you're right on the front of your sit bones and your spine naturally lengthens out of the sacrum. Now, I know not everybody's going to be able to do that, but you can, this process of always rotating the shin bone down as much as you can, even if you're in this kind of position, will allow your hips to gradually open. Does that make sense? If you sit like this, your hips are never going to open. They're always going to be stuck. So the idea is that you have one foot in, rotate down, and the other foot in, and you put that foot in front of the other one. For now, that's enough. There's plenty of other ways to sit, but for most of you, that's going to work. And in this position, you get a good forward rotation. So if my knees were up here still, I would just raise my seat, and then my knees would go down. Okay? Are you with me? Okay, so that's the way it works. Of course, there's Sukhasana and all these other postures you can do, Swastikasana and all these other postures, but I'm just leaving it at that for today because the principles are the same. And if you were going to use lotus or half lotus, then it would be the same. And when you do this, you always change legs. You'll have a predominant leg that you always want to put in first, but every day you've got to remember to switch it every day. Keep the balance in your hips. Yeah? I recommend that even if you can sit in full lotus, not always right leg first. Switch day to day. Okay. If that isn't working for you, you sit on something between your heels. And that can be 4 blocks. It could be 1 block. You come into a kneeling position, and the important thing here is the inner rotation of the femurs. So before you sit, you bring the knees together, You separate the feet, and then you inwardly rotate the femurs and lower down halfway. When you get halfway down, what will happen is the femurs will stay in their inwardly rotated position. Then you bring the fingers into the back of the knee crease and you wriggle them in. You pull directly back towards the heels and rotate the calf flesh out. So because it's an internal rotation of the hip now, the calf flesh goes out, not in. So it's the opposite to what you did in the cross-legged. Clear? Then when you get there, your fingers get stuck. You pull your fingers out and the feet go straight back, not out. And can be this is the best way to sit, because it's a straight action through the knee joint. It's not a twisted action through the knee joint. And this is a position that need rehabilitation with however much height you need in therapeutic yoga. Femurs, yeah, hips, and the hip bones. So if you just sit down like this, the hips will just stay neutral. Yeah. What you want is to, before you go down, bring your hands onto the tops of the thighs and just give that little bit of inner rotation to the femurs. And so that when you go down, they stay inwardly rotated. And inward rotation of the femurs is really important for this position, but it's a great position. It helps you to keep a nice lumbar spine. Yeah? When the hips rotate out, the back tends to drop out a bit more. This is a really excellent position for pranayama meditation, because it's, for most people, if you're tight in your hips, it's easier to keep a natural spine than it is in a cross-legged pose for a long time. And the other thing you can do is you can switch. I often do my pranayama in this position, and then I switch to my meditation. For some reason, meditation feels better for me cross-legged. Pranayama feels better for me in Vyasana.
Is it okay to switch during the meditation?
Sorry?
Is it okay to switch during the meditation?
No. Yeah, because I mean, yeah, I'll come to that. If you're sitting and your legs start to go numb or you're in pain, what's the point? You always feel free to change. Always feel free to shift your position, because it takes time. This is probably the most difficult asana, sitting still for longer periods of time. If you're going to sit still for half an hour and do japa, it doesn't sound long until you've been there for 10 minutes. Then it's a long time. Yeah? And I'm not asking you to do that. One of the things I want to get away from is that there's anything that should cause you discomfort. It shouldn't cause you discomfort in your body, and it definitely shouldn't cause you discomfort in your mind. And if it does, you're doing it wrong. Yeah? We've got to look after ourselves. We've got to, appreciate this gift of the body and mind. Treat it well.
Yeah, sorry, because for example, when you go to Vipassana or similar practice,
yeah,
they always tell you to accept the pain.
Yeah.
And don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Just stay with it for the whole meditation, which could take hours.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
No.
You're going to find in these sessions there's a hell of a lot I don't agree with.
That's good.
Okay? And then you make up your own mind. I mean, yeah, you just have to go with what I've got to say. What I would say is there's a difference between, like my teacher Swami Govindananda, he would say, the first time you feel discomfort, don't move. The second time you feel discomfort, keep doing the japa, don't move. The third time you feel discomfort, for God's sake, move. Yeah? Because by then you're stopping blood flow, you're moving into pain. And the moment you actually start to feel real discomfort, there's no way you're going to be able to do meditation. So what's the point? You're just torturing yourself. I really don't agree with that way of practice. It's important that we understand that we're not trying to do that. Any questions on those two things? Okay, so these are the ways I want you to sit for the practice we're going to do. So I just want to read something that gives you more of an idea of where we're coming from, and then we're going to do some practice. This is the book that I'm mainly going to be, the scripture I'm mainly going to be working from for this class. It's called Religiousness in Yoga, and it's by T.K.V. Desikachar, who is one of Krishnamacharya's sons. And this is a series of lectures that he gave, and this particular part is on the subject of pranayama, and he talks about pranayama in a way that I really like. Let us continue with pranayama, the fourth anga, limb. It is a suspension of the normal movement of the breath. We focus our attention upon the breath, whether it is to control the breath or simply to observe it. Our first objective is to be conscious of the breath. The Yoga Sutra says that pranayama is when we become conscious of the breath. Next, we determine how to continue to be conscious of it. That is, how to remain present with the breath. One suggestion is to control or regulate inhalation and exhalation. It is also suggested we choose a place in the body where we can feel or hear the breath. This we call desha or mama. These aspects of pranayama have been discussed, talked about. So he's saying there's these two different ways that I was talking about earlier. You can regulate the breath, or you can meditate on the breath. You can become intimate with the breath. You can become best friends with the breath. You can watch the breath in certain parts of the body. This is also pranayama. The word pranayama has two parts, prana and ayama. Ayama means to stretch or draw, and this is the active part of pranayama already described. Prana means that which is constantly present everywhere. The breath is constantly coming from somewhere within the middle of us. As long as it is there, we are not dead. What is prana? Prana is the life force. Prana is the energy of you and the energy of the whole created universe. So the practice of pranayama is to become intimate with that. The thing that manifests from in the center of the body that he talks about is the Atman, which we call the soul, the individual self. Yes? And that place in the body we call the pranistan, because it's a place where prana resides, where prana begins and where prana returns. And that is the place where we worship. We worship the prana in the seat of prana. Is this making any sense? That, for me, is the practice of pranayama. And the pranayama. Okay, so I'm going to get into Kapalabhati next week because it's a preparation really for pranayama and it's a little bit more complicated. What I want to do today is talk about some of the more subtle aspects of Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing. So I'm guessing everybody here is familiar with Ujaayi breathing. It's a sound that we create by constricting the throat slightly, so the breath makes this hissing sound as it moves in and out of the body. Well, there are two types of Ujaayi pranayama. One is made in the throat and one is made in the nose. When you're performing Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, it's in the nose. It's not in the throat. Often in the classes, when we're doing Nadi Shodhana, I hear people doing Ujjayi breathing in the throat. Because we're very programmed as yogis to do Ujjayi breathing in the throat, and we don't want to switch it off. Do you know what I mean? It's just natural to us. But in Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, there is no Ujjayi in the throat. It's a really important distinction, because the pranayama, the Ujjayi in the throat, is doing a very different thing. It's an energizing breath. And in alternate nostril breathing, we're trying to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. We are calming the body. We are balancing the hemispheres of the brain. We are bringing the left and the right Ida and Nadi, yin and yang channel of energy into balance. And to do that, we don't want an energizing, heating pranayama. But we still want the ability to make the breath long and smooth. So how do we do that? We do it with Vishnu Mudra. The Vishnu Mudra is the first two fingers to the palm and the ring finger and the thumb, opening and closing the nostrils, which most of you know. But when we do the breathing, Krishnamacharya is very clear in his instructions on this. My teacher Ramaswamy talks about it all the time. There's no large movement of the hand on the nose. The fingers are always in touch with the flesh of the nose, and when you breathe in and when you breathe out, you half open and half close the nasal passage. When you breathe in and out through a half closed nasal passage, it creates sound. That's Ujjayi. It's Ujjayi in the nostril. Yes? Are you with me? It's the same principle as Ujjayi in the throat, but it's now happening in the nostril. This is a huge refinement which isn't often taught in alternate nostril breathing. And it sounds easy, doesn't it? Half close the nostril. But you really have to retrain yourself if you're used to, which nearly all of you will be, releasing the nostril to exhale and then inhale without that restriction. So today, we're just going to do that as our pranayama.
You've got one nostril completely shut and one half open?
Yeah. Yeah. So when if you're breathing in through the left nostril, the right nostril is completely closed, but the ring finger is just half closing the left nostril. Now, because it's quiet, when I do that, I can hear the Ujjayi sound in my nostril. The other thing is, where do you place the fingers on the nose? It's never the bulb of the nose. It's the narrowest part of the nostril, just below the bony part of the nose, just above the bulb of the nose, where you feel the nostril is at its narrowest point for you. And that involves a minimal amount of movement of the hand. In pranayama, the body should be as still as possible. The more movement there is in the hand, the more distraction there is in the pranayama. Are you with me so far? Does this make sense? So today, let's just get into that practice. Nothing fancy in this pranayama, no visualizations or anything today. We're just going to work on the half closing of the nostrils and the sound of creating Ujjayi sound in the nostril. Okay, let's do that. I'll guide you through it. So if you need to stretch out your legs, do whatever you need to, and then come back into your seated posture. Yeah, leave that there so the camera can see. Yeah. Come into seated posture. Bring your left hand into Chin Mudra, first finger to the thumb, palm facing up on the left knee. Make sure you're on the front edge of your sit bones with the knees lower than your hips in a kneeling or a cross-legged position. Bring your right hand into Vishnu Mudra, first two fingers close to the palm of the right hand. Use the ring finger and the thumb to open and close the nostrils. And bring that hand onto the knee. And then lift your chest and relax your shoulders. Throughout the pranayama, the chest stays lifted, almost in the state of a false inhale. The head moves back and the chin moves slightly down, so you can feel the connection through the hyoid bone to a little bit of tone in your pelvic floor and your lower abdomen. Bring the hand up and bring the fingers so they're touching each side of the nostril. Keep your chest up, your chin slightly down. And then exhale through the left nostril in a normal way. Partially close the left nostril. Inhale. Retain, close both nostrils. Half open the right nostril, exhale right. So it's just slowing down the passage of breath, and the sound is very, very subtle. Inhale right. Retain, close both. Half open left nostril, exhale. Keep your forehead, eyes relaxed. Inhale left, half open. Retain. Exhale right. Now just continue in your own time with your own natural breath length. There should be no strain in the breath. It wants to feel easy and free. Let the upper palate drop, keep the inside of the mouth relaxed. Just make sure there's no Ujaayi sound in your throat. Don't close the nostril to the point where you have to use any force. The breath is just slower and thinner. It's not restricted. And the next time you exhale through your left nostril, release the hand. Okay. Any questions on that? Can you feel the difference? It's not a big thing, but it's a huge thing. It makes a massive difference. And I found, because I'd been doing pranayama with the completely open nostrils for so many years, it took me quite a while to be able to do it without thinking. Did any of you find that? Okay. So what I want you to do this week is just practice that pranayama. just get that nostril Ujjayi working really well for yourself, and then we can start to add on the visualization practice. Now, the thing about Nadi Shodhana is, I mean, who knows what, this is what, according to scripture, Nadi Shodhana was originally, it's the first pranayama. So all the other pranayamas, Ujjayi Pratiloma, Ujjayi, all the different kind of shitalis and the kind of there's just so many different pranayamas, and we're going to investigate some of them. The Ujjayi pranayamas combined with Nadi Shodhana, all those kinds of things, Surya Vedana and all that stuff, they all came after simple alternate nostril breathing. They say in the beginning, in the Satya Yuga, which was the kind of age of equilibrium and peace where we weren't so mixed up and conflicted, you only needed that pranayama. And so now we have many different pranayamas because they address the mind and the pranic body in a slightly different way because of what we need. But all the other pranayamas that you will learn, they all originate in this pranayama. So if you really get grounded and confident and understand how to do this pranayama really well, then all the other pranayamas that I can teach you, they are easy. But if you haven't got the foundation of Nadi Shodhana with the proper way of breathing and the right posture, and then what the visualizations that come later, the other pranayamas aren't really very effective. Okay? So we're starting with this basic thing. And then for the next 20 minutes, we're going to do a little bit on the meditation practice. So if you don't have a mala, there's some on the wall there, you can get one in a minute. If you're online and you have a mala, have it ready. If you don't have a mala, try and get one for next week. And if you get in touch with me, I'll tell you places where you can get a mala. If you don't have a mala at home and you just want to borrow one for this week, you can, as long as you let me know that you've got it. And this is the key tool in our meditation. The meditation we're doing is japa. Japa means rotation of consciousness, rotation of the mala. This is a time-honored technique that is in so many traditions, most of you know all about it. But just to be clear, I want to go over how you use a mala. Okay? So if you haven't got a mala and you're here today, Marion, could you distribute some malas? The bead, this mala has 108 beads. I'm not going to go into all the esoteric stuff about malas. I'm just going to tell you how to use it. This mala has 108 beads. You always start with the bead on the middle finger of the right hand, even if you're left-handed. The tassel points up, and the bigger bead with the tassel on it is called the Sumeru bead or the summit bead. It represents consciousness. And then you cup the mala in your left hand, and the left hand is at navel level, which is the level of the Manipura chakra, power chakra. The right hand is in the level with the heart level in the center of your chest, which is the Anahata chakra or the pranasthana, where the prana resides. When you roll the mala, you keep the index finger, which represents the egoistic nature in the language of mudras, up. You do not touch the mala with the index finger. You roll the mala towards you with your thumb. So you have the meru bead with the tassel on top, and then you start at the next bead and you roll it towards your heart. One bead at a time. As you roll the mala towards your heart, the kind of clue is in the name. You don't just pull it. you roll it. So what I mean by that is the mala, as you draw it towards you with your finger, I don't know how well you can see this online, but I might do a little video about it later. As you draw the mala, you don't just pull it towards you. You take your thumb on the mala and you roll it slightly towards the heart as you pull it. And as you roll the mala and pull it over the finger at the same time, what it does is it makes the transition of the mala in the hand much smoother, and it allows the thumb to go down to the space between the beads. So a yoga mala always has this knot between the beads. It's never mala where the beads touch each other, which you get on Buddhist malas. That knot in between the beads is called the Brahma Granthi. Brahma is the creator and Granthi is the knot. It's the knot of creation. The creator who made you, the creator who is the source of prana. So every time you roll the bead, you come in contact with the creator.